Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our weekly office hours. My name is Matt, and as always, we're doing these office hours just to keep everyone up to date on some of the news at our hometown, the different products we're working on, some of the events that we have coming up, and also I want to give you a quick run through of a really cool application of multiple tools that we've been talking about recently, the Google Docs add-on, and how that can feed into your reverse publishing workflow. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to write a story on Google Docs. We're going to send it to the WordPress site, and then it's going to be exported to InDesign. Okay. Now I want to get to the majority of the news at the end, depending on how much time we have here today. So we'll circle back to that, the different announcements we have from the newsletter later. But I do want to make one announcement now. This was in last week's newsletter. We're offering a free month for your first month of using Google Docs. If you haven't ever used this tool before, now's your chance. It's a free setup. We'll help you install it, help you get trained on how to use it. And we just want to get this tool out there because we think it's incredibly valuable. And some people maybe have just not wanted to try it yet because there is an additional cost. It's $60 a month for the feature, but that's after this trial is over. So if you contact us any time during this month, we're going to give you a 30 days of using the tool for free. So let's get to that tool now. I'm going to open up my drive here, and I'm just going to start a Google Doc here just from scratch. We're going to do everything. Nothing has been set up yet, so let's just go through this test. So I'll call it test article from Docs to WordPress to InDesign. Okay, and so you put let's drop an image in here. I don't know what kind of, I think I just have a lot of screenshots on my desktop right now, but maybe we could just use one of these. Oh, here's one, this town hall one I've been using. Okay, so let's say that this is an article about a town hall meeting. Story goes here. Okay, you can adjust the size of that image. And so the idea here is that you could be using Google Docs as pretty much your pre-press and your digital CMS. You could open this up to anyone that you want to be able to submit articles to the website. And all that they would need to do is install the add-on. So once that add-on is installed, they'll have it as an option under add-ons, and then connect to WordPress. This is the first step I need to take. So this is the site, whoops, WordPress demo. This is my site that I'm going to be publishing to. And we got a couple other stories here that I was testing earlier, but this is a brand new article. So the first time that you publish to WordPress from a Google Doc, you need to log in. Okay, this is our way of authenticating that the user has the right permissions, because we don't want to just open it up to their Google account. We need to authenticate each Google Doc. So you just use whatever login you use to access the site. Okay, and it's going to authenticate this document. And now that there's this connection that's been made, we don't need to keep logging in. We can save this, we can send it to WordPress as a first draft, and then we can make changes and then just keep sending those updates without logging in again. So that's one really nice feature about it. Now let's put this in a category. We've got our title, we've got the body. We're going to publish immediately, and I'm going to put it right in that top category for virtual conferences. And the default status is to publish it as a draft, so you have to override that, and that's just a little bit of a safety measure there, just in case you send it and it's not totally ready. It would just go in as a draft. How I think I am going to actually test out the subhead. So town hall meeting summary. Okay, and then excerpt I'm not going to do, but I am going to do the byline because these are all elements that are tagged in the XML export when we go to InDesign. So you'll be able to see how I can create them here in the doc, and then it'll come all the way through into WordPress and then through to InDesign finally. Okay, I don't need to set the featured image. That's going to automatically be set as the first image in the article, which is the same as it works on WordPress. And we should be all set. So I'm going to say create article. Now it's sending all this information to WordPress. It's, it's already been authenticated, but it's creating the article in WordPress. So it takes a couple seconds, but once that's all done, you get this confirmation. So we know the post has been created at this URL. Actually, I usually don't check this, but let's just see if I can just load that. So yeah, that actually, I think I have tested that in the past, and it sometimes takes a second to update. Okay, so here it actually is. Now, why? That's a good question. Is that still not working? Yeah, I'll have to talk to James about that. I think that confirmation message should be changed because the permalink is no longer a number. It's going to be the title. But anyway, here's the article. Got through all good. We've got our body, which came through as the excerpt automatically. Here's my byline by Matt Larson. If I click on the article, then we're going to see the subhead here, Town Hall Meeting Summary, the byline. On my demo site, I'm displaying the byline and the author, which is not what you would want to do on a live site. So we would just have one of these showing up on a real site, but this is just for demonstration. Here's the body, town hall meeting, story goes here. So that all came through seamlessly. Now, what I'd like to do is get this into InDesign. So here's my InDesign template. And the workflow here would be that you could set users up to really only be able to submit the articles through Google Docs. This would be an option that, they could only send in articles from Docs. They wouldn't be able to log into the WordPress site. So, this is like your staging area where you decide what actually goes into the print edition and what actually gets published on the site. So this is kind of like a combination of the, reverse publishing and the Google Docs add-on. Okay, so here's my test article from Docs to WordPress to InDesign. There it is right at the top. It's the most recently published article, so that's where it would be. Now I can either export just that one story or I could export an edition, but since I didn't give this story an edition, that probably wouldn't be the best way to do it, but let's just do a quick demo and give it an edition here. So we'll give it an edition of today, 10:14. Okay, update article. And gotta wait for that confirmation message. Then let's reload this. Okay, perfect. So that gave it the edition date of 10/14. So now I think that's actually ideal because I want to export the edition instead of that one story. So we would go to reverse publishing. 10/14 is the latest edition, so that's automatically going to be selected at the top. We're going to export all categories, even though it's just the virtual conference is the only story in there. We've got all these character styles and paragraph styles set in here so that they're included in the XML tags. And let's just run an export. Now, if I show this in the Finder, it's going to just be a zip folder. And double click to unzip it. And you can unpack it there, and you've got your image. So let's take a look at that. Oh, opened up on my other screen. There's the image. And this is a print quality image. So whatever image you loaded into that Google Doc, whatever the resolution was, whatever the size of the file was, that's going to translate all the way through to this step. And then let's open with text edit. Let's just take a look at this XML for a second. It's going to be kind of small. I don't know if I can zoom in on that. Oh yeah, kind of a little bit. Let's make this easier to read. So we've got here in the code, you've got all the necessary information. Here's your story title, but the title is also here tagged as the XML, following the XML formatting. So it's giving quote the title this tag. And then we've got subhead that worked perfectly. So town hall meeting was tagged as the subhead. We've got the byline, again, that was tagged correctly. So this should all come through perfectly. Then we've got our body here, and then the graphic, which refers to this image in the zip folder. Okay, now if we open up InDesign, we're gonna say File, Import XML, and just have to locate that edition, 1014. XML files are going to be the only things that you can click on, so there's no need to look around. And then that automatically came into the root folder, so you have to unpack that and click the caret to see what's in here. But we've got our one story, and in that story it's got a title, subhead, byline, body, and graphic. Now in my InDesign template here, I've got boxes for all those things. So let's drag the title in. Now look at that. It automatically applied the 30-point font because we tagged the title as a title in the XML. And then we can drag the subhead in. You could do the same type of thing for subheads. So like if I wanted to take my character styles and change the subhead to, let's say, italics, font style, I think is what that's going to be. Okay. So that may be, yeah, here we go, italic. Okay. Wait a second. Why did that not work? Subhead. That's the subhead, right? Yeah, that's subhead 0. Is that the reason? Ooh, may need to look into that because this says subhead 0 rather than just subhead. I wonder if okay, we're gonna do a little bit of troubleshooting here. Subhead 0. I don't want to get too much off course, but let's just see. Oh, this has an italic. Why is this not? Okay. Well, this is probably not something for me to mess with on this demo right now. So we'll look into why that didn't actually apply the fonts as expected, but let's come back to that later. For the byline, let's see, I'll just put the byline in this box down here. So there's the byline, Matt Larson. Body goes in here, and that's a very short body, but that's everything that we had. Then with the image, if there's a caption, that would have its own field here, but we didn't have a caption on that one. So then I can just drop the image into place. So assuming I've got all my character styles matching correctly, the point here with this demonstration is that it doesn't matter whether you write the article in InDesign or in WordPress, or if you write it in Docs and then use the add-on to get it into WordPress. Either approach, you're going to have, all the components tagged as they've, as you have indicated in the reverse publishing plugin. So you just need to make sure that it matches your styles in InDesign. So yeah, we'll have to look into why that subhead didn't apply the italics. It did highlight it, interestingly, so I'm not quite sure what the story is there, but this is just something, I don't think we have many customers using this combination of these features. That's why I wanted to highlight it in today's office hours. So I know we've got publishers using reverse publishing. and we've got publishers using Google Docs, but none in combination, as far as I know. So that's just something to consider if you're interested in either of these features to maybe make your whole workflow a little bit more efficient. Okay, so that's all I've got for the demo today. Let's jump back to the website here. So on just a couple things to point out. We've got this blog rolling. It's at this point, it's something that we're really proud of. It's an incredibly strong, just marketing program, but really customer support is the primary objective. And you can learn about new features and the products that we're working on here at any time. There's a couple places that we publish it. If you go right to our homepage, you'll see this carousel of the latest news from our hometown. Every single week, we're sending out 2 newsletters a week with different blog posts in them, different events. But I definitely want to also point out that under the dashboard, if you haven't noticed this yet, if you go to your dashboard, right here is a feed of the blog too. So it's really easy to keep up to date on the different news announcements that we're putting out at our hometown. But I just want to go through the newsletter. We talked about the Google Docs add-on announcement, that free trial. Every week, we're also including an episode recap. So in tomorrow's newsletter, we'll have a link to this video, so you can watch the replay there. Let's talk about some of the upcoming events. This is really exciting. We're going to be doing this on Friday at noon. Our next virtual conference is on getting started with video. And in this conference, it's really the first of a series of virtual conferences where we're going to talk about the different ways that newspapers are getting into more of a digital first mindset, digital first workflow, thinking more beyond just the print edition and text articles into more multimedia forms of reporting the news. And this one is going to be focused on video. Maybe you've experimented with video a little bit yourself. Maybe it's something that you've never gotten into. No matter where you're at in terms of producing video, this is a great conference to check out because it's about getting started with it. So we're going to talk about some of the really simple ways that you can start producing video for your website. And we're going to talk about some concrete examples. Originally, I was going to talk about the way that we produce video in this, but then I learned about these publishers that are doing really interesting programs with video. They have an incredibly consistent live stream. So that's with the Wilson County News. They have a weekly live stream on Facebook Live where they talk about the news and they interview local businesses. And they get a lot of engagement through that. So that's one easy way to get started. You don't need a lot of equipment. You can do it right on your smartphone. You can do it on your computer. That's true with all these examples. We're also going to be talking about the Waves program. Mark Healy, the editor there, is leading up a program called Fridays with the Wave. And there may be some news coming on that soon. I don't want to talk about it yet, but we're working with the Wave on a possible new project to expand this weekly update that he's doing now into a really interesting area. But I'm not going to talk about it yet until we actually have that project rolling. But for right now, what he does with that is he sits down at his laptop once a week. Again, not a lot of time required to do this stuff. He sits there with the print edition, and in basically one take, he'll record himself talking about the stories in that week's paper. It's not a huge time commitment. He does it, like I said, it's one take, so it's not like he spends a lot of time editing it after. He doesn't, say cut action every time he messes up. It's a very natural thing. It's kind of like these office hours. Not everything goes right in these things every time, but I think that the world is getting used to that type of video. You don't need to spend a lot of time over producing it, making it perfect. What's more important is that you're putting video out on a regular basis, and your subscribers and your readers can see you talking about the news. It doesn't have to be perfect. What's more important is that you do it consistently. And so we're going to talk about their programs in detail, hear from them about some of the pros and cons between doing it in a live stream versus a pre-recorded video. Kristen does it live and Mark does it pre-recorded. There's different approaches to this, different types of video that you want to do live or that you can only do live. Like the Wave, they do some live video of things happening in the community. So, maybe it makes sense, like there's some announcement going on the boardwalk. You want to just get that recorded live because, you want to be the first one to get it out there. That's how they look at that, and that particular case, application of doing video. So check it out. You can register on the website. We've got a blog post on this where you can register at the bottom, but you can always check out our virtual conference page to register for all of these. This page is always going to have the next virtual conference as the feature. So check that out. The other thing that we announced in our publisher newsletter last week was this concept, and this is kind of a teaser for our next virtual conference, which is going to be about getting started in audio. This idea that you could be creating a podcast with audio articles. Okay, podcasts, that's another thing that we've all heard about, but the idea of sitting down and producing a podcast and taking time out of our day to record, prepare, well, first of all, prepare all the stories, write a script, record the audio. It's just seems like a huge time commitment. So that's why we developed this concept of creating a podcast from audio articles. So as you know, audio articles will automatically transcribe your text articles into mini podcasts. And the way that let's take a look at the Wilson County News really quick. The way that actually comes through on the website is I click on any story and it automatically has this playback on it. So I can listen to the story and it is going to sound like this.
Audio articles on Wilson County News made possible by White Lightning Liquor.
So there's that ad opportunity right at the beginning. You can type a message from your local advertiser that's sponsoring this feature, and it will read it off at the beginning of every article on the site. But then it'll go on to read the title and then the body. So let's check this out.
Falls City Community honors veterans. Through the lens from photographer Vivian Schwierk as she witnessed Friday night's military appreciation event. This was a very inspiring moment to reflect upon the freedom we enjoy today and those who risked their lives to protect this great nation. God has surely blessed this country. May we never take it for granted. Thanks be to God and to all our veterans.
Okay, so that's a very short article, but you get the idea. So we have had audio articles out there as an option for a while now, but this idea of stringing podcasts, these mini podcasts into one large podcast is something that we just came up with. And we're doing this ourselves. So we're trying to lead by example with all these things. We're not just out there telling you should do this. Seems like a good idea, maybe you should try it. These are things that we use to market our hometown. So, creating video like I am today, but also these podcasts. So we have a podcast, it's called the Our Hometown News. And on it, we will take the audio from office hours, we'll take the audio from virtual conferences, all these different videos that we're producing, and put it out there as a podcast episode. But what we're adding to that the weekly podcast is a podcast from audio articles. So these are all the blog posts that we're putting out there. So again, like we're repurposing the content in a new media format. So we've already spent the time writing these blog posts. The idea is let's get it out there in an audio format for people that prefer to listen rather than read. I think that's kind of the name of the game these days, because everyone is finding their preferred method of consuming news. Maybe it's video, could be audio, text on the website, or in the print edition. But this is how it could basically come out. So let's check this out. I think this is the latest episode, but let's see.
Election polling, free setup through Election Day. Our hometown's WordPress publishing platform includes a very simple polls tool that customers can use to poll their readers and gauge public opinion on various topics.
Okay, so that actually is not the latest episode. I want to show you a more recent one. But the idea here is that we've got this canned intro animation, and then we just show the featured image as the visual for the video. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is just show you that you can create a video, an audio file, and a text article all from one piece of media. So it actually starts with the text, then you create the audio, and then you create the video from it. And you could also do it in the reverse. You create the video first, and then export just the audio, and then turn that into a transcribe that into an article for the print edition. But the technology just makes it very easy for you to move up and down between these different media forms. But so the thing to point out here is that you can have just an audio file, but then still get a video from it, because this is something, it's not a whole lot of fun to sit here and watch this particular video because it just has one featured image. But if you had an article that you created an audio article from, an audio file, and that article had 5 images on it, then when you create this video, you could have a slideshow going of those different images, and you can make it a little bit more interesting to look at, maybe by adding a Ken Burns effect of panning across the image as it's reading that story. There's a lot of opportunity here. Let's say it's a sports story and you've got pictures of all the top scoring players in the article, then you could time it so that when the audio article is talking about what that player did, it shows a picture of them. And this is all manual right now, so you do need to have the resources to do it. You got to have a video editor. We can talk about, if you're interested in this, we have a video editor. Maybe we could help you produce these. But the ultimate goal is to automate all this stuff. So that's what's coming down the road. If we could somehow use some level of artificial intelligence to, tag the image as the person's name, and then have the program recognize, okay, we're talking about them at this point in the podcast, so we should show the picture that's talking about this person. That's what we're driving at long term. But right now it's a manual process. It's just an idea for you to consider. And I've had a couple publishers email me about this, and we've had some meetings that they do have the resources to create these videos, so they're going to start doing it with their audio articles. Okay, so that's just something that was in the newsletter last week. We're going to go into it a lot more depth in the next virtual conference. And we've also got an announcement. We've got very excited for the Times Independent to join the Our Hometown community. They've been with us for a couple weeks now, actually maybe even a few months, but we wanted to announce their official launch. They came to us. We actually met through a virtual conference. They heard about one of our sessions and came to listen about some of the things that we had to say on paywalls. And within a week or two, we had a new website lined up and launched for them. And they were on WordPress before, so we were able to recreate the template that they used on our platform very easily. But I'm excited about this one because it's actually our first paper in Utah, which is now my home state. So really looking forward to going to visit them as soon as possible down in Moab, Utah, and maybe see the arches when I'm down there. Okay, what else we got here? We talked about these news articles. Okay. The other thing that I want to highlight is that a lot of publishers are doing this. This is just another idea for you. You can take it or leave it, but I think that this is a very powerful idea. The fact is, who else is really acting as the, you know, the historian for your community other than you as the local newspaper? There really isn't anywhere else that you can go and get a detailed history of your town. And you know, most of this stuff is going to be stored on your website. So if you've been with our hometown for any significant amount of time, we keep all your archives on there. Everything that you've ever sent us is still on the website. And also, many customers, when they come to us, they bring archives with them. So, you know, it could extend even further back. But this is just a concept that we've seen a couple publishers acting on. So this isn't an idea that we had. We actually got the idea from Mary at the Archbold Buckeye, where she has a weekly article called Golden Notes of Archbold's Memorable Past. And that it perfectly demonstrates this technique. Each week, this article contains clippings. It actually, I think it's less of a clipping, it's more of just like a summary of the historical events happening in the town from 10, 25, 50, 75, and 100 years ago. She does all those time points. So what was happening in the paper? So she's referring to her own paper as her, you know, way of doing the research, and she just summarizes what was happening at these different time intervals. And it's just super interesting. So let's see here. Here's her 10 years ago. So I don't believe that this is actually quotes from the old paper. I think that this is, you know, just she reads the archives and then comes up with a summary of what was happening at the time. But you can see that we do the extraction on it, and this is what it looks like 25 years ago on October 11th, 1995, 1970, 1945. Yeah, so there's a little bit on it looks like an obituary, new construction on homes, you know, just little tidbits of information. But you know, like if you live on Vine Street, this means something to you. You know, this is personalized history, and 100 years ago. So yeah, just a super cool idea happening at the Archbold Buckeye. I think they're also doing it at the Wave. And another thing that I thought would be worth mentioning is that, you know, this could be a good way to like there may be an opportunity right now with the way everything's virtual. You know, a lot of education is happening online now. You could tap into that. You know, we have publishers that have given free subscriptions to students in the community with a coupon to try to get them involved in the paper, get them interested in reading the local news. So that's one angle you could go about it. But I think that, you know, almost creating a whole track in the high school, middle school curriculum for local history that goes along with world history, American history, you know, that could be something that's just like a 10 or 15 minute segment at the end of history class to talk about local history, and they could be using your digital archives to get that information. I think that's a huge opportunity. It's not really a particularly well developed you know, thought right now, but I think that there's a lot of potential there, and I'm excited to see how things go for Cecile at the Journal Tribune, because she's experimenting with this and trying to get the next generation interested in local news. Okay, so anything else on, oh, just one quick thing. We want to just open it up to people, because I've been looking at our customers, trying to see what they're doing and doing my own research. And, you know, we hear from our support team. They'll tell me sometimes when they see a paper doing something interesting with audio or video. But I just want to make a formal request here. If you are doing anything with video or audio at your paper, please contact us, share your ideas, and if you're open to it, I'd love to have you on these virtual conferences as a panelist or just someone to, if I could present what you're doing as a case study, and then maybe you could answer questions. Totally low stakes with this. Don't mean to put the pressure on you at all. Some publishers want to share their ideas, but they don't necessarily want to present it or be on a webcam presentation, and that's totally fine. We're just trying to act as a melting pot of ideas at our hometown. That's our goal. So we want to learn from what you're doing, what's actually working. Any ideas that you have that are generating revenue are certainly of interest, but even if they're not generating revenue yet, but there's a potential to do it, that's what this session is all about. So we've got a forum on the website. There's a blog post this week. You could just send us the idea. Mark, if you're interested in being part of the conference, and please share those ideas with us. I mean, just in general, share any ideas that you have with us on how you're using the website and how you're adapting your business to this new local media landscape that we're all faced with. Okay, so that's, I think, all I've got for the news, and actually I've got to wrap this up. I've got another webinar at 1 o'clock, so I think we'll call it a meeting for today, and thank you all very much for checking out today's office hours. Let me know if you have any questions on the Google Doc integration or any of the news that we talked about today. All right, sorry, and oh, sorry, Vera, I missed that a half hour ago. Yeah, the title, I'm sorry. I gotta pay attention to these questions better. Yeah, the title was cut off. Startled me there when you laughed for a second. It's gonna be cut off, and you can either send it through to another box, or I could, just make this box bigger. That would be another way to do it, to adjust it.
I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, you can definitely, just so you know, feel free to interrupt at any time whenever you see something like that, but that's okay. You could also adjust the size so that fits a little better. But these presets are just in there to get it close to where you're normally going to set it. So most headlines are going to be around 30, but I would imagine that when you're laying out a paper, there's many examples of where you deviate from the presets, and just to make it fit a little bit better and just look better. So like headlines on the front page, maybe you want to use 30-point font, but on the interior pages, maybe you go with something more like 25. That's really up to the designer, I would say. But good point. Yeah, and this one was also cut off a little bit, it looks like. So you would either want to make the subhead box bigger or extend it into another page or change the font size. Either way. All right, cool. Thank you both very much for joining me, and let me know if you have any feedback after we get off the call. All right, talk to you later.
Thanks, Matt. Bye.
Thank you, Vera. Okay, bye. See you, Terry. Thank you.